What is up? What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 24 of the Sovereign Life podcast, guys. Um, so, over the last little bit, I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been super inconsistent in uploading these. And there's been a lot going on. More than anything, I feel like I've had massive kind of imposter syndrome, and just a lot of mental fog around this over the last little bit. And the reason for that is like I just don't really know what direction this podcast is going anymore, and I don't know if like I'm the guy for this. Like that's another big thing that I've been looking at is like um when you look at content and you look at what's working versus what's not, right? And it's interesting because it's like a lot of the time, you have these very almost one-dimensional type people on social media that are doing really, really well, and it's just simply because they stick to their lane. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like my thing is I'm a bodybuilder and fitness coach. Um, and then on top of that I'm running a mindset podcast, right? And it's like so more than anything it's just kind of getting broad, you know what I mean? And I don't know if this is like a side quest or if it's something that's ultimately going to work out for my benefit. So it's like I've just been having a lot of what's the word, like a lot of resistance towards this over the last little bit. And it's hard because it's like in my head, I just don't know if this is being productive or if this is like something that I've made up in my head to procrastinate, you know? Um, I do love the mindset though, and that's part. I mean, the whole reason why I started this right from the beginning was to give my clients or, whoever, the people around me something so that they can implement my mindset into their day-to-day life. And like I'm not saying that I have everything fat like I'm not saying I have everything figured out. Like I'm definitely not where I want to be. Well, I do love my life, but I'm not where I want to be yet. You know what I mean? Like there's so much more out there that I want for myself. And for me it's always helped to just have somebody that is one or two steps ahead. Um and that gives you kind of a blueprint to go off because there's a massive disconnection with there's a massive disconnection when it comes to like your idols a lot of the time, right? Like we look at the Michael Jordans or like the whoever, the really big famous rich people. And the problem with that is like a lot of the time, one, you don't have access to them, and two, even if you did, they wouldn't be able to give you applicable advice because they weren't really where you were, or they weren't really even close to where you were. So for me, it's like I always try to find the people who are immediately a few steps ahead of me so that they know, like, they've gone through the journey and they know, like, what to do versus what not to do. Um, and it's fresh. So, with that being said, that was the whole point of this podcast is like maybe I'm a little bit farther or a little bit closer to my dream than you are, right? Um and maybe there's some type of value that I can provide in that. And that's basically the reason why I started this, guys. But at the same time it's tough because it's like, is this productive? Is this part of what I need to be doing right now? Or like, or do I need to double down on the fitness stuff and give more tips and like go that direction where it's strictly just talking about like the logistical side of fitness? So I don't know, guys. And that's the thing that you have to realize is like nobody really knows what they're doing. Like we're all just doing it and hoping that we create a wave, right? Is like Because the reality is, like, nobody truly knows how big things are going to be. Like, if you ask Bezos or like Elon or any of these guys, like, I guarantee they didn't know 100% that Amazon or Tesla was going to blow up the way that it did, but they simply just believed that it should go that way, and then they created this wave that people were able to get on board with. And I think that that's where I'm at, is like, I'm just trying to stay in flow state as much as possible and just create as much as possible and give back to the world as much as possible. And at the end of the day, if that starts to work in my favor, then cool. And if not, I'm going to show up and do it anyways until one day it does. Um, and that's kind of the mentality that you have to have, whether that's business, whether that's content, bodybuilding, like whatever it is, like whatever goal that you have, you just have to be willing to stick to it and consistently show up because that's what you love to do. And if things start to work in your favor, then great. And if not, then oh well, you know? Um, that's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. Um, so yeah, like I've kind of fallen off over the last little bit. I feel like I've been giving my business the, like, everything, and it's working. Like it's working really well, and we're doing numbers and growing exponentially, which has been super awesome. But I don't know, it just felt like the podcast wasn't the thing for a little bit, and maybe I needed to take a break. So I'm not gonna take that as a bad thing. I'm gonna take that as a win because I'm back here. Um, and guys, falling off is inevitable, right? And so, with that being said, the biggest thing is like, how fast can you get back on, right? You need to stop measuring, or you need to stop feeling bad every time that you fall off. And you need to be able to just realize, like, hey, this is part of the process, and how do I correct this as soon as possible? And that's what having mentors is so good for. And luckily I'm surrounded by a lot of really good people in this life, and they can kind of help correct me along the way when I'm running into things that I'm, that come up, because inevitably at every level there is challenges that come up, and there are, like, every new level comes with its new challenge, and that's what people don't get, is like, people think that you get to a certain level and it becomes easier, and the reality is that it almost gets harder, because now, in the beginning, it was a lot of people. I had a lot of people doubting me, and I didn't really have the accolades or anything. So obviously, like, I had people doubting me and stuff. But now it's like, I've gotten to this point where, like, yeah, I have more accolades and I have the business and things are starting to work. But now it's like, I kind of have to face myself more, like, like, do I belong, or do I not even belong, but am I worthy of this? And it's like, it's hard because, like, if you don't believe you're worthy of it, then inevitably you'll self sabotage and it will fail. So, with that being said, it's just like, you have to be willing to look at where you're at and overcome that, right? Like, I can't let that get the best of me. I can't slow down. I can't, like, take my foot off the gas, because now we've got people who are depending on me to succeed for their income and for their livelihood. Um so there are definitely times that it gets the best of me, and whether this podcast helps or it doesn't, it's part of the game. So more than anything, I just want to prove to myself that I'm going to continue to show up regardless of, the hardships in my head or whatever. And guys, that's another thing that, like, you need to assess in your life, is like, what's the goal, right? And then just show up every day regardless of the result, because the result will come. Like, it's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point. The reality is, if you just take out the like if you just take quitting off of the table, then you will succeed at some point. It's just a matter of when. So so you just have to be willing to make that that distinction right there is like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give it my all every single day, no matter what, and whether it goes my way or it doesn't, or people say this or that, or people support or not. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do me and do the best that I possibly can. And if you do that over and over and over, eventually you will get so good that you'll create waves, and the momentum will start to push you. And that's what I'm starting to feel lately. Like, yeah, there are still times, like I said, there are still times that I get in my head and I talk myself out of things that I know I should do and stuff, um but you just have to be willing to show up when things are hard, and eventually things will start to work out. So um with this podcast, I just don't want to be feeling like I'm wasting my time, feeling like I'm wasting your time. Because it gets hard, because it's like, who am I to do the mindset thing? You know what I mean? And I mean, I have some accolades and things are good, but at the same time, it's just like, am I the mindset guy or am I the bodybuilder and fitness coach? And the reality is, I'm a little bit of everything, but in the dimensional universe, or the one dimensional space that is social media, people want to put you in a box. And once you're in the box, and like the people who play into that the most end up succeeding the most. So it's just like, it's hard, because it's like, am I holding myself back by doing all these different things? You know what I mean? So it's just crazy. But regardless, I'm just going to keep showing up. It may change, like we may switch to being more of just a fitness focused podcast, and we'll get very scientific and go over the studies and all the stuff. But for the time being, I really do enjoy doing the mindset stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to continue showing up for this, and I'm going to make this a priority, guys. And it's crazy that I even have to think about that, because I committed to this. Um, so guys, with that being said, um, clarity of mind comes with action. And that's one thing that, like, I've said it over and over, but it's hard for me to even, like, I don't know. It's easy for me to fall out of that, still to this point in my life. And so with that being said, like, I need to do better at just consistently taking action and doing everything in my power, and just knowing that mental clarity will come as I feel more and more connected to the purpose, and as I take more and more action and build momentum and stuff. So um and that's the same thing for you guys, is like, one of the best things, or one of the most productive things I think that I do throughout my day, is every morning I get to the office and I spend the first like 15 minutes writing a list of the things that I feel like I need to get done that day, right? And it sounds so simple, but like, when there's so much going on with business, like, I literally, like, I'll be DMing people and texting people, and like texting our management group, and like reading a book, and like all this stuff, like posting on social media, and like I do a million things. So with that being said, a lot of the time I'm like, I get caught and I'm just going and like doing stuff, but then I can slow down and be like, okay, is this the most important, and what's on my list that's not done yet, right? And if I can go back to my list and make sure all of those items are checked off, then it just kind of gives me direction for the day. And that's that action. Like, it gives you a thing to start taking action towards. um so I feel like that definitely helps quite a bit to keep things on the right path. Um but guys, mental clarity is a product of action. So with that being said, and guys, I struggle with this all the time too. So with that being said, like, if you feel like you are lacking mental clarity, if you feel like you don't know what the next step is, and maybe you're doubting yourself, maybe you're thinking about whatever, like the step maybe you're thinking that the step you're going to take is going to be wrong, right? It does a whole lot more good to take the step and realize that that's a wrong step than it does to not take the step in the beginning. Because if you don't take the step, then you are procrastinating, and you don't learn by procrastinating. You learn by either doing the thing and being wrong, or doing the right thing and getting the result. So more than anything, you just have to realize like action brings mental clarity. So, with that being said, guys, take action this week. Don't sit and wait. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And that's like with this podcast. I always use the podcast as an example, but once I click that record button, I just have to go. I can't sit and think and whatever anymore. Like I just have to show up and get it done. So for me, that's the big thing is I just have to get in front of the camera and click record, and after that, things start to flow a whole lot easier. But with that being said, guys, this week, focus on taking action, whether it's right or wrong, whether it takes you to your goal or you realize that it's taking you farther from your goal, so you cut it off. There is only good that comes from taking action. So get that done, guys, and we will see you on the next one.